Hey there, are you ready? Because today is the day when you start figuring out how to create a home you love right now with what you already have and in the home you're currently living in. I'm Sandra, your host of the Style Matters podcast, brought to you by Little Yellow Couch. And I truly believe that you should not put off living inside something beautiful and energizing and nurturing for some imaginary perfect time in your life. You need those things now. And to help you get started, go download our free guide that'll help you clarify what your style actually is. Now, I'm not talking about identifying a style category like farmhouse or boho. I'm talking about nailing down something specific and wholly unique to who you are. And at the end of the guide, I'll give you next steps on how to start putting that style to work. To get it, just go to littleyellowcouch.com and click on the yellow button right at the top. So welcome to Little Yellow Couch and the Style Matters podcast. This community of listeners is your people. You found us, and I am so glad you're here.
Cynthia Zamaria is a repeat guest on the show, and this time she's written a beautiful book called House and Flower, Reviving Forgotten Homes and Gardens. And it's a tour through several of the homes that she has renovated, revived, along with her husband. And the book is really about how those experiences have informed and responded to her own personal growth and her growth in her relationship with her husband. Now, this conversation is kind of on the longer side for a Style Matters episode, but I really encourage you to keep listening all the way to the end because I feel like it just gets better and more interesting and inspiring the longer we talk. The whole episode is fantastic, but by the end, I'm really going, oh my gosh, this is so good. She really gets to the heart of what the process of creating a home can do for us. And even though I know what the word ethos means, I still wanted to look it up in the dictionary because she very purposefully uses the word ethos in her book. So the definition is the characteristic spirit of a culture, era, or community as manifested in its beliefs and aspirations. Now, for her, she's not talking about an entire culture or generation, but if you apply this idea to a home, let's say your home, how would you answer the question, what's the ethos of your home? How does your home manifest your beliefs and aspirations? Oh my gosh, Cynthia gives us a lot to chew on in this episode, and I am right there with her. There were so many times when my own slow style approach and framework was mirroring Cynthia's, and that's probably why I could talk to her for days. So enough. Let's just dive in. Let's get started.
Cynthia Zamaria, welcome back to the Style Matters podcast. I am delighted to have you here again.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Great. Well, we have so much to talk about. And this book of yours, first of all, congratulations. It's beautiful. I absolutely drank it up. Let's just jump right in. Since you've been on the show before, I'm not going to go over your background because there's just too much to talk about in relation to the book.
All right. Let's dive in. Right?
Let's do it. Yes. As I was reading it, right from the very beginning, it felt kind of like a diary to me. It felt so personal. And what I'm not so much like, oh, I'm reading somebody else's story, not like voyeurism. It was more that you were inviting all of us, everyday homeowners, to celebrate the potential for beauty that we see, motivating us to bring our own visions to life. And that came through to me from the words that you were using. It's not a book by and for professionals. That's what it felt like to me. It's a book for home lovers. And I'm curious, Was that your intention? Am I reading into this? Like I said, right from the beginning, I mean, your husband wrote the foreword, which was gorgeous.
Yeah, he gets to stay here after writing that. Yes, it was lovely.
It was like a love poem to both you, your relationship, and your homes and the experiences you've had together.
Yes, and that's true, and that's why this book is so important to us personally, and I hope to others as well who can see themselves in the book, and there's stories in a book like this. And thank you so much for really pulling that out of the book, because that really was the intent and the purpose of it. There are so many beautiful design books out there, and I've, gone through the pages of them all and been inspired and learned so much. But some of them are just so unattainable.
Yes.
And the beauty in them is drool worthy. But I finished the book, and I feel like I've been spoken to and told,
Yes.
and given somebody's approach, which somehow just realistically wouldn't fit into my world. I just could never afford some of the things that I see. And while they're beautiful and they provide inspiration, I really wanted to share an approach which was much more almost democratic in a way, of making it ubiquitous to people so they could see themselves in it, and it was something that was attainable and sustainable, which are two things that are really important to me. When we sat down to write the book, and I was working with our publishers, Bloom Imprint, on this, which is an independent boutique publisher out of Seattle, we spent a lot of time talking about what this book would look like and who it would be for. And there's two things. There's the visual framework and a narrative framework. And for the visual part of it, the book was supposed to be it's about beauty. So of course the book has to be beautiful.
Yes.
And it has to be, image forward. So the book is all about being very, obviously beautiful, but it's more than pretty pictures. And I think that was the other thing that was so important when we talked about the narrative of the book. And the narrative framework, it's like we were sitting down at a table talking to somebody. And I wanted that to be the voice of the book, because that's my voice. And our homes are so personal that it requires a personal voice. The narrative is that. It is like sitting down, confiding in somebody, and sharing with a very much a side dose of home empowerment and home encouragement, right? Well, I want people to feel encouraged and inspired that they can do this, and that there's no magic recipe that they can, make their homes beautiful, because that's what it should be for them.
Right. And like I mentioned, Graham's foreword, first of all, I've never read a book where the husband or wife or spouse, partner of an author wrote the foreword. I was so charmed by that. I thought, well, this is going to be a different book altogether. And what he really captured, and then he kind of set the tone, and then you captured throughout the rest of the book, was this notion of building experiences together as a couple, and then ultimately as a family. You have 3 children, through the actual creation, renovation of these homes. And just by the way, for those of you listening, Cynthia has renovated 7 homes in her adult life, most of them with children in tow. And so we talk about that quite a bit the last time that you were on, and both of our, how we both crave new and change and new projects, and it, makes you want to move again. But so anyway, so there are several of your homes are featured in this book, but you do touch on the fact that you have had this practice over and over again, 7 homes that you have fully, put your stamp on. Talk a little bit about that process of discovery when it comes to, I guess I'm interested in the connection between discovering who you are and your relationship while you're discovering and learning about a new to you home.
Well, I like to say that, sometimes on the way to your dream, you get lost and you find a different one.
Yeah.
A different one or a better one, however you like to phrase it. And each of our homes has really served a purpose in our lives and has been right for that moment and for that time. And you can chart, and we can chart our experiences in our lives by the homes that we've had, that Graham and I have lived in and loved together. And, it's been a journey of excitement. A lot of people say, renovation is right up there on the stress level of things that you should be, with your spouse or your partner.
Right. Divorce papers in hand as you're
exactly
knocking down a wall. Right.
I don't know if we're gluttons for punishment, but we keep going back. And, but in seriousness, it is something that has brought us closer together and has made our relationship stronger and richer. And, I think specifically as you go through the process of renovating a home together with your partner, I think for me and Graham, there have been three things that we've taken away from it. And the first is that it's really encouraged us to take risks and trust each other. So, one of the very first homes that we had that was a big project was this 1920s brick house. This was maybe, 17, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That we lived in this house. It was one of our first big renos. And we went to visit it on a cold December day, and it was dark and dreary and cold, and
nothing's appealing at all.
Nothing at all.
No charm.
No charming, big brooding house, and it had been duplex, so and then tenanted, so it smelled like the kitty litter tray when you walked in. It just was not loved.
Right.
And Graham walked out of that house and said, "There's no way I'm ever living in that place." And, I said, okay. And I went back home and I couldn't get it out of my mind. It was in a great neighborhood. It was close to schools. We had young children at the time. There was a pool. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to let this one go. There's too much potential in this space. And I think, that was just an example of how in the end, whether I cajoled him or not, he trusted me.
Yes.
And as we renovated that home and we took the risk to stretch our finances to purchase that home and to make it what it could be, I think we learned to trust ourselves and to learn how to take risks as a couple. And with each project, our confidence grew and our risks and elevated maybe a little bit, and we trusted each other more. And so, another example is when we moved to Miller House, which was this 1857 heritage property that we bought and renovated and restored very gently. There was a belvedere at the top of it, which is like a lookout tower.
Yep.
And it was pretty uninspiring when we first bought it. And Graham said, "Let's paint it pink. It's the cherry on top. It should be vibrant."
Right.
And
not pale pink,
right? Strawberry pink. And I said, let's paint the roof gold. And it was that kind of a thing where we wouldn't have done that in our first place. Other people wouldn't have done it.
Right.
It was something that pleased us, and it was a risk that we took together and we shared. So
let me just that was really important. Let me just jump in real quick here and just tell people that the Belvedere is surrounded by windows on all sides. Like Cynthia said, it's a lookout. So with the lights on at night, I mean, it just glows. It's got this beautiful pink warm glow, and then the gold ceiling, reflecting all of that. And so it's pretty outstanding. It's not just that you see the pink when you are inside the house, you see it from outside the house, which makes it very, very stunning.
Yeah, it was magical. And, if we didn't like it, that would have been okay too. And we would have repainted it. The other thing I think that we've learned together is that I've become a much better designer as a result of our relationship. Graham's opened me up to new horizons and new influences. I mean, he grew up in England and then moved to Canada at a young age, but his family was very much into antiques, and he brought that love of vintage and old things to me and expanded my outlook very early on in our relationship. So much of the love that I have for older things and things with soul comes from the experiences and times that Graham and I have had, shopping in vintage stores and going to antique auctions. It's a very symbiotic, good relationship. So I think, if you can do that with your partner and share these things together, obviously it makes it a lot easier.
Well, I just want to remind everyone right now, this is not the Love Connection. This is not a relationship podcast. And yet here we are talking about relationships. And of course, they are so key to our lives, and not necessarily just with a partner. It could be a relationship with a child, a parent, a very good friend. and the fact that they're so connected for you between your home and your family, I find it to be beautiful. I also think it's encouraging to people to read about that, to say, you know what, especially when you've been married for a long time or with the same person for a long time, mostly the risk taking goes away. I mean, the risk taking feels like it's all in the beginning, right? And then you sort of get into your ruts, your routines, and you start expecting and knowing what the other person's going to say and do. And when you take on a project like this, I think you're absolutely right, because my husband and I absolutely love to, this is one of our, in fact, we have very little in common, my husband and I, but the two things we have in common are art that we love to buy and look at, and doing home projects. And it always brings us closer. It's a fun way to, like you said, continue to learn about the person, to continue to be open to new ideas. And your book really encourages that. So, thank you.
Well, a family, a home is a vessel for your family, right? Yeah. And it is a backdrop for our lives. And it is filled with the memories and the moments that you've shared together. And I think one of the really poignant examples of that for us was when we were in this Miller house that you just referred to, the home with the Belvedere. We owned it, but obviously prior to us, there were many other homeowners. And in the 1920s, there was a gentleman who owned the home by the name of Carl Coldley. And he was a fisherman, a fisher entrepreneur. It was in a fishing village. He bought the house in the 1920s, and it was in relative disrepair at that time. And he spent time fixing it up. And he had a son. Somehow we connected with this gentleman, and they came back for a family reunion every year.
Oh.
Anyhow, he looked us up and he asked if he could come with some of his relatives to visit the home. And of course we said, yes, please do. And he hadn't, none of them had seen the house in like years, since they were children. Thought maybe a few people were coming. They all rolled out of the minivan. There must have been about 15 of them. It was such a delight, though. They were so excited to see the home.
Yes. Oh.
And we took them on a tour, and they brought images with them, like pictures of the house, of how it was before, that they shared with us. And they told us stories. And if there was nothing more poignant than that time, and to see the excitement and how different rooms in the house, or different stairways, or the banister, or, rekindled some of that affection and those moments that they had in those homes. Yes. So, we truly believe we are just caretakers of the homes that we reimagine.
Absolutely. And I want to say too, because we probably won't get into this very much just because of time. And there's so many other things I want to ask you, but in your book, you do talk about some of these homes and that history, and that sense of being a steward, gentle renovation, honoring the past while still making it work for you and your family. And for those of you listening, there's a whole chapter in Cynthia's book where she talks about, kind of how to do that. So I appreciated that as well. I know from our last conversation when you were on before that you always have this connection between the specific location of a home, both its environment and even kind of culturally, like where it's situated, and how you're going to make your renovation design and garden choices. And in the very beginning, you talk about all 7 homes that you've done, which I loved. Even though the rest of the book, there's really only a focus on 3 of them, but the 7 that you lay out for us, I'm wondering if you give us examples. It can be from any of them. It doesn't have to be from just the 3 that are in the book, about that connection. Were there very specific cues that you were taking from your environment that you wanted to then make sure were showing up in your home?
Absolutely. I mean, the environment is so important. And, I've always said every home we have had has had a garden, and every garden we have had has had a home.
Right. I love that. Yep.
The two are connected. And whether that garden is a small parcel like it is right now in our city yard, because we're back in Toronto, or whether it was, a 90-acre farm in an agricultural town, which was one of our homes. Mm-hmm. The two, they inform you, and the vibe and the connection is very much, for us, when we design a place is taken from the home itself and its surroundings. So to give you a specific example, one of the homes that we had been looking for a weekend getaway place for our family. And our real estate agent took us to this one property, and there was an old kind of rundown farmhouse of really no provenance, just kind of, something that had been there and, not much character. But when we walked around the corner and we saw the views of this stunning lake view, we were in love. And the real estate agent said to us, is this really a house you would entertain? This isn't what you were looking for at all.
Yeah.
But we fell in love with the view and the environment and the potential of what it could be for us and our family.
Right.
So we lived in the little farmhouse for a while, and we planned how we would make her more connected to the outside, because as they did in those days, the house was not designed to take in the views. They were purposeful and functional, right?
Right.
So the house very much turned its back on the environment. So when we built an addition, which became the kitchen, living area space, the entire area had a huge bank of window wall looking over the lake views. And that became so important, connecting us to that view. We could see the animals and the fisher people going out and the birds flying. And it was that connection to outdoors. And that really informed also the design inside. We used a lot of very natural materials, very simple. The floors were made of rough hewn wood. The cabinets were simple shaker. The countertops were stone. We used barn light lighting. We had one big feature wall with a fireplace, and the whole wall was covered in wood, stacks of wood for the fireplace. And that was art in of itself.
Sure. I want to talk about the fact that you give each of your homes a name, and then you go on and you give them a fully fledged personality to go with the name. And I'd like to know why do you do that? And then also give us an example of how you translate that persona into design decisions, because it's wonderful. And you talk about this a lot in the book.
Yeah, I think, there's a whole section on, homes having souls, and how we believe that a home is full of soul because of the people and the occasions and the memories and the life that is lived in there, and that we should respect that and honor that. When we started giving our homes names, I think from the very beginning, because it was just easy to refer to them and to distinguish between them. But I think more so it's evolved into a philosophy of, it's respecting the home as a member of your family. And the persona part comes from helping us come up with a design vision. So if when we walk into a new home, there's a feeling that you have, right?
Okay.
There's something that you feel in that home. And then there's layered on top of that, when you're done your reimagining of that home, how do you want that home to feel to you?
Right.
So when we walked into, I'll give you an example of the Heritage Home, the 1857 Georgian style. When you developed her persona, it was something like, she was a grand dame who had seen better days, right? She wanted to have a party. She wanted to throw open the doors and the windows and let people come in. And you could see that she was beautiful in her day. She was the belle, but time had passed her by. So that was kind of her persona. She was sad. She was a bit sad. She wanted to come out and have a good time again.
She felt abandoned, I'm sure.
She did. But she, at her soul, she was beautiful. Yeah. And that's how we felt when we walked into that home. She just needed a little bit of help to get her back to where she was originally. Yeah. And part of that was cosmetic, but part of that was a feeling, and infusing the home with love and with people and with parties and with pets and with flowers, and that's what makes a home a home. So that was kind of the persona that we felt about her, but how we wanted her to be at the end, and helped frame our design direction was, she kind of had the elegance of an artistic, voguish atelier, like a French atelier. I'm very romantic, so I come up with these, things. But you kind of had that married with the exuberance and the vibrance and the eclecticism of an English country manor. So it was kind of this vision of this big house that would be open to the outside, would have a big garden, and would have people coming and going. And there would be tradition in it, but it would be fun and there would be
Right.
artistry. So some of the things you'll see in that home are, it's a beautiful soaring ceilings with high molding. And then we've mixed some modern pieces and some funny pieces to not take it too seriously.
Absolutely. And of course, that's the home with the Belvedere in it that we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
that pink, the resplendent pink with the gold ceiling. I mean, it all just makes perfect sense as you're talking about that home in this way, in the persona. What about, there's a home in here you described, the persona, might be Ludi, faded Levi's and a shot of bourbon from a crystal lowball glass. I mean, what an image, what an image. Yes, yes. And you can picture the person who would wear that and drink that and even the kind of room they would be comfortable sitting in and conversing in. So
yes. So this is our current home, and it's a very different home. So Miller House was bright and light and large.
Yeah.
Ludi is a semi-detached home 4 miles from downtown Toronto to the financial district. So
wow.
It's much more urban. However, we live in this wonderful community that is also nestled around the lake. It's called the Beaches.
Uh-huh.
So we very much are informed by and influenced by the beach. And I think one of the things that really speaks to that is in our kitchen area, when we were doing the renovations, we took the ceiling down to do some electrical or something. And we found these beautiful rafters, which we ended up just leaving exposed in their natural state. So it does kind of have very much of a beach house vibe.
Yeah.
But it's all about trade-offs. I mean, people say to me, do you miss that big Miller house that you were in? It was so beautiful. And it is. And I'm so happy that there are new people in there now who love it and are making their own memories there. And I don't ever really miss a home because, we take it with us. We take the recipe with us. We take the people and the memories. Yes. And so we're very much more outward focused now. The lake is our playground. We go there. Our backyard has been extended into another room almost, where we spend a lot of time outside. Every home, as I said earlier, has a place for that time of you in your life.
It's interesting to me that, just as a side note, even though each home is very different architecturally, situationally, era that it was built, all of that, I still see Cynthia through each of them, which I love. And I think that's why you and I both like to move a lot, is because we want to explore different ways of expressing what we're interested in at the moment and explore different styles and of course mixing them together. And so there's this thread, this visual thread, I think, that goes through the book so beautifully along with the narrative thread.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes. Of course. Yes.
Because it's in your core. I mean, I'll talk if you'd like a little about the ethos, because that connects so much to what you just referred to. I'm often asked, or I was asked, well, what style? What is your style? How do you describe your style? Yep. And I always had the most difficult time doing that. First of all,
Me too.
I really don't like to be pigeonholed and characterized as one way or another. But I think it is so much because so much of it is situational with me, as we just talked about. The home and the environment dictates to me the direction. But because I kept getting asked this question, I really started to analyze it. What is it that is consistent in all the homes that we've had? And I think that what came out of it was more an understanding that this was not a style. This was more of an approach and a philosophy.
Yes. Yep.
Or as we ended up calling them in the book, ethos. There are 4 of them. And there are 4 things that I found that are consistent in each of the homes that we've done and each of the gardens. And it's this approach to, number 1, acknowledging that homes have souls. And that dictates how we renovate or reimagine a home, which is this philosophy of respecting the home and being gentle with her and respecting the people who have lived there before you. The second ethos is, Mother Nature is the original stylist. And that is all about reflecting on how we take our cues from nature and how we live with nature and how we see the natural rhythm and beauty in nature. You Do You is all about a mix of whatever it is that turns you on, you should celebrate it, right?
Mm-hmm.
High and low, treasures and trash, all kinds of different things. That's what makes up your special recipe, the ingredients that make it yours. So that should be celebrated. And then trendless, which is, is a really important theme for me, especially now when I think there's just so much disposable everything going on these days. I think we need to understand trends for what they are. And, they can help us, they can help encourage us, they can help bring us new ideas and stretch us to do things differently. But I think it's dangerous if you become too smitten by these trends, because they can demoralize you sometimes, because you don't feel you're living up to them.
So well said. Yes.
Right. And we need to take what we want from these trends and put your own filter on it and decide what to take and what to leave, because the new trend report comes out, the green kitchens are big,
right.
And the hot thing, does that mean I need to, I just painted my kitchen white. Does that mean that doesn't work anymore? So these are the kinds of things that I think play into us. It's kind of like fast fashion, like fast home, and doing things that really stand the test of time, that are better for the environment, that are better for your home. And that's why as I said earlier, we always start with what can we keep? What can we not throw out? Those are the philosophies that dictate and direct my design.
I just am resonating with this so much, because I think without even talking with you, I think we kind of took similar paths to come to the same conclusion, which is it's not so much that we have a style that you could name and point to and shop by, use as a category in Google search. It's an approach. It's a way of being in a home, or way of making a home your own. And
absolutely,
I in the "You Do You" ethos section chapter, I loved it so much, because this is exactly why I started my monthly membership called the Slow Style Society, because I wanted to offer a way to practice creativity, for people to practice creativity through different projects that get people used to translating, vision into choices, and for the love of it, for the fun of it, not because we're going to do a fabulous room makeover with before and afters that can be on Instagram and everything is thrown out and all new things are brought in. It's the opposite approach. It's kind of using what you already have and figuring out that skill of translation.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that I thought was so helpful that you talked about in the "You Do You" chapter are your mood tables. And most people know what a mood board is. Not everyone will know what a mood table is, but it's essentially like a 3D version of a mood board. Tell us about that. Give us an example. There's some beautiful photos of your mood tables in the book.
I do a mood table with physical things, because the design process for me is about feeling it. It's really simple to do. You just find a space like your kitchen table and collect things that speak to you and things that inspire you for how you want this space to be, right? So that can be anything. And it's usually best with the things that you have right around your home. It can be things that you already have that say, or things that you've picked up on a walk through, nature, things that you pulled from the garden. So basically what I did for the house that we're in right now is I collected a number of different things before we started the renovations,
right,
in terms of my mind of how I wanted this home to look and feel. So I set this table up with, just cardboard pieces of paper that represented different colors. There was white and pink and green. And then I, found brass, because I wanted there to be a rich texture to it. There's wood blocks that we had cut from a tree. There's a glass of cognac, because I just love the color.
Right.
And, there's some velvet, and there's snippets of ivy and sage from the garden. There's a clay pot, but it's not just a clay pot. The clay pot has the patina of being aged and turning green on it.
Right,
so
right.
It's all of these kinds of things. An old gardening book that used to be Graham's mom's, plus an old book that was washed up on the lake that we found that had this beautiful rumpled effect onto it. So it all, there was a rock from a walk on the beach. There's garlic because I just love the papery color of the skin. So there's and melted Haagen-Dazs peanut butter chocolate ice cream.
Oh yes, I love that it was melted.
It was melted, right? Because the color is so delicious. Yeah. So we just put these things together because these are the things when I was thinking about how I wanted this place to feel. The things not only had a look, they had a texture, but they also had a story behind them, and they had a meaning to me. So just going back, after you do this, take a picture of it, obviously, so you can keep it, and that kind of grounds you with. When I'm deciding on, do I want, this color of cabinet or that, it might, you go back to it and you say, no, this is how I want this to feel. So this is where I should go. But it's amazing how, when I go back to this picture, how much this represents the space that we've created. And, sometimes it was almost intuitive. For instance, there's a picture in here with a rock that I didn't really realize until afterwards has a beautiful swirl pattern on this rock, like ribbons of, and if you look at the countertop that we put into our kitchen, it's got almost exactly the same pattern.
Yes,
It wasn't something I looked at and said, this is what I want to do.
For my counter, right.
Yeah, it just happened.
It had a feeling.
Yeah, it was a feeling.
It's that leap. It's that leap from this intuitive feeling where you're gathering these objects and putting them on the table and rearranging them and catching them at the right light and then photographing them.
Yeah.
And then there's that leap, but where then you're making these design decisions. And it's that part that you say we have to trust ourselves.
Yes.
You have to trust that you know what you love. And I think we've gotten so far away from really knowing what we love because we asked that question that you alluded to earlier, which was something like, is this okay? Like the fact that I just painted my kitchen white. Oh, is that not okay anymore?
Yeah.
And people ask me that a lot too. Like, is it okay that I'm doing this? Meaning, is it out of date? Or And I'm always so startled by the question because, first of all, who cares what I think? Do you love your kitchen? but second of all, we've become obsessed with design rules. And I guess it's because the design world has become so prevalent on social media. I mean, because it's so photographable and it's gorgeous. I mean, just like you've said, I love it. I soak it all up too. But it's kind of engendered in us a little bit of fear that we don't know what we like. And your book is so clearly telling us the opposite.
Yeah, I think
to make that leap of faith.
Yeah. Inspiration in isolation, I think, is dangerous. I think that we have to contextualize it and we have to empower ourselves to trust ourselves. And there's so many voices that tell us that's not the way to do it, right? They're going to tell you the 5 things you have to have in your kitchen or the 10 design rules you're breaking, right?
Yes.
All of those kinds of things. And we're bombarded with it. So no wonder why, we're sometimes questioning ourselves. And, for a long time, I've I don't get me wrong. I still have my doubts and I still wonder at times what I'm doing and this is going to work. And I've made, mistakes where I've changed not mistakes because they're not mistakes. They're just you're just trying, where I've changed things around. I painted a room like 4 times because it just wasn't right. But I've gone way past the point of trying to think that I need to please everybody. And I think that's what's so important. And if there's one message that I want people to take from the book is that, you are a creative spirit and you can make these choices and nobody has to be happy in your home but you. But there's a but to that. You have to do the work, right? You have to do the work.
Yes, exactly.
And, if you want a home that is of you and for you, then inform yourself, take the inspiration from everywhere that you can, do that. But nobody has the monopoly on inspiration, not famous designers, not your neighbor, not an influencer. It really is you.
Oh, and empowering. I mean, and then like you said, you can take that recipe, that skill set with you house to house. Like you have done. I mean, that trial and error is so important. How else are you going to know whether or not something works? And what works in one home doesn't work in another because something as simple as the light's different. that
Absolutely.
same paint color is just not going to look the same in a different home. Yeah. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
This thread of trusting yourself, developing your skills, embracing nature, all of it, you've separated them out into these 4 ethos, which I love. I love that approach, that way of thinking. I guess it's a good way to organize our thoughts around these things. So obviously I want everyone to go get this book. it's definitely one of my favorites. But I want to wrap up by asking you again, as I asked you 2 years ago, which is how long it's been, why does style matter?
Well, I think I said this the last time. To me, beauty is optimism. It's about potential and it's about hope. And being able to see that beauty no matter where we are in our lives, right? No matter what phase we're in, whether we're old or young, whether we have children, dogs, grandchildren, whether we're living in desperate times. It helps us, I think, control one little part of our lives if we can see that beauty. Because by making that beauty, we are hopeful and we are happy and we're celebrating our lives.
Cynthia, what a delight. Thank you so much for coming back on the show. It's been a pleasure.
It's been my absolute pleasure to talk with you.
Okay, I hope that was helpful and inspiring. Do check out our website, littleyellowcouch.com, where you can see photos and links from this episode, learn about my slow style approach to design, and grab your free style guide to get you started on your signature style today. Have a great week. Bye for now.